Recently, I've received a few questions in the comment section of my videos asking how to get rid of sugar addiction. So let's discuss that in this video. Now, first of all, it's not necessarily like when you get to the root cause of the challenge that they're facing, it's not necessarily sugar itself that's the problem. It's certain foods that have sugar in them. It's not like they're sitting there with a spoon and a bag of sugar and they're going to town on it. And when it comes to like candies with sugar, there's some that I absolutely love and there's some that I absolutely despise. When it comes to chocolate bars that have sugar in them, there's some that I absolutely love and there's some that I absolutely despise. It's usually not just sugar itself, it's the combination of sugars, fats, salts, the texture of the candy bar itself or the candy itself there. And I mean, these food companies spend millions and millions of dollars researching the ideal combination of like the sugars, the fats, the salts, and the textures and everything that's going to cause you to crave those foods. And once you start to eat them, you're going to have a difficult time controlling yourself and stopping yourself. So it's very understandable why this is such a difficult challenge for so many people. Now, one approach to getting rid of this sugar craving is to avoid it altogether, to abstain. That's why you see a lot of 30-day challenges out there where you're avoiding sugar altogether. And that works for some people. And just absolutely like abstaining altogether really does work for certain people. It certainly works for some of my clients. I think I have maybe 2 or 3 clients who have abstained from any kind of processed food for years and they're thriving from that. It was a challenge in the beginning. There's a lot of willpower involved, but as these people who promote this kind of abstaining from food, like just cutting it out cold turkey altogether, it's difficult in the beginning. You require some willpower, but it gets easier over time. Like they just have no desire for it at all. They have a stronger desire for the whole natural nutrient rich foods that they've been including in their overall meal plan there. And I know for myself personally, when you download the free Lose Fat Get Jacked Nutrition Guide, I'll include a link down below in the description, as well as a top pinned comment. It includes 3 sample meal plans. And one of those meal plans was a 4-week mini cut that I went through almost 3 years ago. It was in January, that's 2022. 2022. January was the last time I went to like a mini cut like that. And it was after the holidays. So I had like no desire for any kind of candy at that time, any kind of treat, any kind of dessert. I was like done with that. I didn't want to see dessert at all. So I was like, this is a great opportunity to start this mini cut right now. If I want to have a treat, I'll have it. But right now I just have no desire. I actually ended up going that entire 28 days without having any really processed foods or any kind of treat or any kind of dessert. It wasn't intentional. It's not like I went on this 28-day challenge to eliminate these certain foods. It's just like, if I want it, I'm going to have it, but I just didn't have a desire for it. And the longer I went without it, the more I was just kind of craving these whole natural nutrient rich foods. I was like thriving from consuming those foods. My energy was sustained throughout the entire mini cut there. I was setting PRs in the gym. Just everything was feeling fantastic and it was just getting easier and easier as each day went on there. So I can relate to it being a positive thing, but I can also relate to other people who say like that abstaining, that cold turkey approach can be more counterproductive for some people. It may lead to a binge eating experience. They delay it, like, I can't have this, I can't have this. Once they have it, boom, they just lose control. So they, in those situations, say it's better off for some people to just gradually cut back on the sugar intake there. And again, that's an approach that I highly recommend because it's what I preach to my coaching clients, whether it's the one-on-one coaching clients or in the Lose Fat Get Jacked inner circle where all the members are following the same plan that I am each and every month there. It says to build upon your own natural eating tendencies. This is something I discuss in the free guide, the free Lose Fat Get Jacked Nutrition Guide. So again, download that in the link below. Building upon your own natural eating tendencies. So you're just trying to improve upon how you're already eating. So maybe if you're having coffee in the morning each and every day and you're having like 2 sugars in your coffee there, maybe cut it down to 1 sugar. If you're having a couple cans of pop every day, maybe cut it down to 1 can of pop. If you're like hooked on those little mini chocolate bars, you have them at your desk at work, and you're usually like having a handful a day, maybe 5 or 6 of them, maybe cut it back to just 2 a day there. So that can be an approach that works for a lot of people. But then there's some people like, okay, Scott, I hear you with the can. I can try to cut it to 2 candy bars, but once I have one of those little mini candy bars, I just can't stop myself. Again, especially if it's a candy bar you really enjoy that has the right combination of the sugars, the fats, the salts, the texture of that candy bar, and you just love it. It's really difficult to control yourself. And I know for myself personally, there was a time a few years ago when I was really hooked on peanut butter M&Ms. It was my jam. I absolutely loved them at that time, or it was what I craved at the time. And if I got the big bag of the peanut butter M&Ms and told myself, all right, I'm going to make this last the entire weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it was gone the Friday night. Like I just couldn't stop. Once I started, I couldn't stop myself. So I had to make sure that I was buying the smallest bag, like the portion control bag there that was going to suit me best and keep things in check there. So I understand like once you get going, it's very difficult to stop. But there's other things to consider in these situations is the triggers. Like I became aware that, okay, I'm having these peanut butter M&Ms. Usually it's only on Friday evenings when I'm watching a movie there. So what can I do instead to replace that with something else that may serve me best? Or maybe Friday nights is a night I just have to abstain from having it. If I don't have those peanut butter M&Ms, I'm going to be better off right now. And knowing that a few weeks from now, if I don't have it, I just break that habit. So a lot of times what we're eating, it's habit. So it's just a matter of breaking that habit, stopping that habit, maybe replacing it with a better one instead. And same thing, like a lot of people, you got to understand, like, when do you crave these chocolates, these sweets, these sugary sweets? I mean, for some women, it's a certain time of month there where they have a strong desire, a strong craving them. For men and women, sometimes it's when you're under a lot of stress. Those are the things that you go for. Maybe it's when you're bored and you're just rummaging through the cupboards and trying to look for something sweet and maybe sometimes salty there. And that's when you're going for. So you gotta be aware, what can I do in these situations, knowing that eating that candy isn't going to help you manage your stress. It's actually probably going to add more stress. So what can you do in those situations to focus on managing your stress instead? Maybe you're having pound some water, eat something else that's going to be a little bit more filling in your stomach and just kind of distract yourself from having it. Same thing when you're bored as well. So definitely maybe when you're bored, get out for a walk or do something to distract you in those moments. So just be kind of aware of what it is that causes you to eat more. Oftentimes it's like if you wait too long between meals, you're just looking for something quick and convenient, and a sugary snack seems like the right idea. And then because you're so hungry, once you start eating it, it's even tougher for you to slow yourself down. So it's really important to be aware of those situations that are going to trigger you to eat the sugary cravings there. And again, a lot of it really comes down to our mindset in the situation. Like I really recognize, like when I started reducing the amount of peanut butter M&Ms that I was consuming, I'm like, you know what, I was eating these out of habit. I really don't enjoy them all that much. I'm so much better off just going to the local bakery or cafe and getting like a really nice homemade dessert, like a treat that I'm actually going to enjoy. Like the M&Ms, I'm just like shoving them in my mouth, not really tasting them, not really taking my time chewing with. Whereas like if I get a nice like brownie or pastry, I'm like taking my time chewing that meal, chewing that treat, savoring every bite, letting it sit on my tongue, and recognizing that I only need a little bit of that in order to satisfy whatever kind of craving that I had. And the slower I chew that food, the longer I take to enjoy that treat, the more I realize, okay, I'm good. I don't need it anymore. Whereas if you're like just shoving it down your throat, you don't recognize how full you are until you've already eaten more than you really need there. So that in and of itself, and it's difficult. It's difficult to kind of work on that. Just know that it takes time. It takes practice. It's the same thing, like what really came down to me recognizing, like when I was eating more than I needed to, more than satisfaction. I was eating that whole bag of M&Ms. You get to a certain point, it's like, all right, after a handful or two, it's like, that's all I needed. That's all that was satiating. Afterwards, it's like, I'm not even tasting it. I'm not even enjoying it. I'm actually starting to feel sick to my stomach at this point. You recognize that. I found like I was aware of that early on, but I just kept doing that over and over again. But I eventually reached that point where I was like, all right, that pain and discomfort of overeating those sugary snacks, those sugary treats, avoiding that pain was more of a draw to me than any kind of pleasure that I may have experienced from that. So I gained more pleasure from just eating to satisfaction than I did overeating. So again, it took time, like really years to get to that point. And it really took a heightened sense of awareness to get to that point, to really pay attention to not only how my body's feeling, but what's going on in my mind, and just really having better arguments about what's going to truly serve me best in this moment. Is it worth it to eat more than this? And really trying my best to avoid putting myself in that situation. So not having the sugary treats in this house for me to reach for. If I'm going to have something, I'm going to go out and enjoy it there. If it's at work and your coworkers have those mini chocolate bars on their desk, maybe you can politely ask them can you put it in your drawer instead to it really helped me out here, at least for a little bit right now until I kind of get over this craving here. Maybe they will help you in that regard. So having it out of sight, out of mind, kind of limiting the temptations that you're bombarded with, but also having that heightened sense of awareness with how your body is feeling in those moments, and having that heightened sense of awareness of how you feel when you turn it down or you do just eat to that point of satisfaction. And probably the best thing you can do is not beat yourself up, not feel guilty in those situations where you may start to go overboard there, because oftentimes that's what leads to the binge more than the food itself. It's like once you start having it, it's like, oh, I blew my diet. Here I am caving into sugar again. I might as well eat this whole thing. Been there, done that. So totally relatable. So again, express kindness and compassion towards yourself, knowing that so many of us have battled this in the past, that it does take time to have some patience with this and just learn from the experiences. You're winning or you're learning. So this is the key to this. It's a growth process. It truly is a journey. It's not going to happen overnight. But again, if you do want to completely eliminate it, you have no desire to have the certain candy bar or sugary treat that you're used to having, you're like, and never again do I want to have it. Okay, then cut cold turkey, knowing that it's going to be a challenge beginning, but it's going to get easier over time there. But again, if you want to incorporate these treats into your life, but learn to eat them more responsibly and in moderation, just know it's going to be a process. It's going to take time. And again, be kind to yourself through this passion. Don't beat yourself up. Don't feel guilty. We're human. And again, the food industry is really spending so much money and trying to get us hooked on these foods. So we're fighting that among so many other things, just the convenience of it all. So again, be kind and compassionate to yourself. Celebrate every mini victory that you have along the way is going to really serve you best throughout this process. I hope that's helped. Please let me know down in the comment section below, and let me know if you have any tips yourself that have helped you and may help someone else who's watching this video.